John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Series testing, successful hunting. Man, I've got a really cool broadhead to test here today. It's the Big Game 3 by DXB Broadheads, Dead X Bowhunting Broadheads. Check them out on their website. But this is a really cool, creative, massive beast of a broadhead. So I'm going to zoom on in here and go through some of the features of this broadhead, describe it a little bit, and then I'm going to put it to the test using all the tests that I'm doing for 2022. And for that, I'm using my Bowtech SR6, set at 72 pounds, and I'm using Bishop FAD eliminators for most of the testing here because this broadhead is so heavy and because of that spine. But then I'm also using the FOC King for some of them as well. So let's zoom on in here and check out this Big Game 3. This is a beast of a broadhead right here. If you compare it to a Muzzy Trocar, the Muzzy Trocar just looks like a toy, like a baby compared to the Big Game 3. Another thing you'll notice beyond its size is it's really well constructed. The owners are also professional machinists. So they're bow hunters and machinists. So they do everything with really high tolerances and specifications. And you can tell that just when you put it together. The total weight on this is 300 grains. And the total cutting diameter is 1.8 inches, which at 3 blades, 1.8 inches of diameter, that gives you 2.7 inches of cut, which is going to make a really nice hole, a super wide hole. And I mean, with 3 blades, it's going to cut a lot of tissue while it makes that super wide hole. So I imagine it's going to be devastating on whatever it hits. The tip is made out of a high carbon steel. And it actually is also the ferrule. Okay, it's one piece machined out of a high carbon steel. The tip and the ferrule, it's like this. That's what screws into the arrow. But then this shell that's actually kind of not really the ferrule. I mean, the ferrule is like the main part. They're all steel. But this shell that just holds the blades in place there laterally is made out of a 6061 aluminum. But there's really not much pressure on that in the hard impact. That just goes straight into the one-piece constructed steel ferrule there. But that shell just enables them to keep the weight a bit light. Though again, it's still 300 grains. Now, just a little tip here. When you put it together, because the tolerances are so high, you want to make sure it's really snug on your arrow, like super, super snug. Otherwise, you're going to get a little bit of a wobble. And the owner told me about that and cautioned me about it. And sure enough, I put it together and I got a bit of a wobble. And I thought, man, you know, what's wrong? It's wobbling. But then I took the blades out and tested the ferrule, the tip, and it spun perfectly true. So I knew that the blades were just not seated properly. So I screwed it on really tight, moved this ferrule a little bit, and then it just lined up and spun perfectly well. And they all did. I tested all of them. They all spun really well like that. The blades are also made out of a high carbon steel, and they're 0.062 inches thick, so really thick blades, which is also going to increase the bloodletting and make that hole hard to close up. And they're also single bevel, so I believe the bevel angle on that is 37 degrees. That 37 degrees is going to help it to prevent edge chatter, and it's also maybe going to give a bit of rotation. I'll have to test it to see if it rotates. But the single bevel combined with the weight, combined with the cut size, means this is going to be one deadly head. So really eager to test it out and see how this Big Game 3 performs. Because my total arrow weight is so heavy, I'm going to be shooting from 30 yards rather than the normal 40. .225. It penetrated 4 5/8 inches. Check out the hole that this thing made, man. And you can see the S cut of those single bevel blades. They actually were getting a bit of a rotation there, and that's just going to make an even more wicked wound channel. And then check out the layers here. Now this is 2 layers of this rubber foam mat with a 1/2 inch of MDF in between, and yet you can see light through it. Like, that's the first time I've ever tested a broadhead that you can actually see through it, because the material is so spongy, and even the MDF is so like mashy that you can never see through the holes. They just close up. But with this one, they don't close up. And I just imagine what that's going to do to an animal. And then here's a top view of the gel, and check out the wound channel of this head. I mean, that's like a grenade explosion. Now to the right, you see another single bevel broadhead that actually has a decent cut. That's the wound channel of that one. And then to the left is the wound channel of the Big Game 3. Man, that's devastating. $275. It penetrated through 43 layers, but I want to remind you that due to its cut size and that really thick tip, it's cutting a lot of material while it penetrates through those 43 layers. Sometimes you see a big mechanical that will penetrate better than that, but that's because of that real long skinny tip and the blades being way at the bottom. That's not the case with this head. It rotated 5 degrees at 6 inches. It's in pristine condition after the 3 shots through the MDF. And it's still in excellent condition after going through the steel plate 2 times. You can only see a little bit of dulling of the tip. Other than that, you really can't tell that it's been shot. And here's another good view of the holes that it makes. And you can see that rotation, that S cut to the holes. And man, they're just big compared to all the other holes on this steel plate. They're really impressive. So here's the head after all the durability tests. It's gone through the MDF 3 times, and then the steel plate 2 times, and then into the concrete. And I want to remind you that this is with an 800 grain arrow. So there's a lot of impact, a lot more momentum than I normally shoot, pounding into that concrete. And yet it held up really well. The blades are in excellent condition, just a little cosmetic scratching there. The tip got a little bit dulled, as can be expected on the concrete, but spins perfectly well and absolutely reusable. Man, really impressed and honestly surprised by this durability. I didn't think it would be able to hold up to the concrete like that, especially with all that momentum pounding into it. So what'd you think of the Big Game 3? Man, this was a really fun head to test, and I think it's going to be a really fun head to hunt with as well, okay? I look forward to sticking an animal with one of these in the days ahead. But it did really well in each of the tests. Check out the score sheet. It's in the description box right below this video, and it'll show how it performed in each of the tests, and I describe each of the tests there as well. And then you can see the overall lust grade that I'll post here at the end of the video. But it did really well in every area. I mean, the blades were super sharp for such a thick blade. That was really impressive. It flew really well. And man, the cut size obviously speaks for itself. The durability, it performed perfectly in all of those durability tests that I do that are pretty grueling tests. The only challenge to it is the penetration. And that's just because of the cut size, right? I mean, everything is a trade-off in broadhead design. So if you're one of those people that has a heavy setup and you want to try something that's just going to make a really big hole, man, this is really worth considering. You can use it for anything from turkey, it'd be a great turkey head, to hogs, black bear, be an excellent black bear head, deer, on up. I mean, to really anything in North America, pretty much anything in the world, if you've got the kinetic energy, the momentum to drive it deep into those animals. So again, check out the score sheet, see how it performed, and stay tuned for the overall lust grade. But I really like this head. It is definitely worth a look. Great job, DXB. I look forward to seeing what you come out with in the future.